Hi everyone, welcome to the Lunar Orbit podcast, where I provide timely updates and fresh thoughts on the Terra Lunar ecosystem. My name is Gerry, and today is Friday, the 11th of February, 2022. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the Major League Baseball Washington Nationals partnership with Terra, some significant updates to the Anchor protocol. We're going to talk about Kinetic Money and their self-repaying loans, and then finally, we'll talk about the UST invasion. Okay, let's get into it. So the big news that's been highly anticipated was the sponsorship of a major sporting franchise in the US. And it looks like it is the Major League Baseball team, the Washington Nationals. So I don't know much about baseball, but apparently this is a pretty big deal. These guys won the World Series a couple of seasons ago, and the partnership looks like a good one. The premium club that Terra is supporting is right behind the home base, so it should have good visibility for television. And this tweet goes into some of the details about it, but a lot of people are quite excited about it, and it does seem like a good deal. And it's nice to see us pushing forward with some of the marketing to try and increase the global awareness of the brand. So one thing that's really quite interesting is that the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington are currently trying to sue Kwon, and in return, he's also trying to sue them. So I kind of find this ironic. Maybe this is partly Do thumbing his nose at them, that they're literally just a couple of miles away from this park. And given that this is basically the premium club of their main baseball team, there's a good chance that some of these people here and some of the lawmakers and regulators will actually be members of this club. So it could be a bit of a flex from Do, but it could also be a way for them to realize that this is a legitimate thing. And who knows, maybe they'll start using UST to pay for their hot dogs. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of humorous and maybe a little bit cheeky from Do there, but it does look like a good partnership. Okay, next up, I wanted to talk about the Anchor protocol. So there had been quite a bit of concern and FUD, if you like, about the yield reserves rapidly depleting. And as anticipated, Terraform Labs and the Lunar Financial Guard are basically going to be stumping up a significant amount of UST to prop this up in the short term until it can stand on its own two legs and become more sustainable and make that yield sustaining. So it looks like they're going to put 450 million UST into this, and they're going to do that by burning 9.5 million Luna out of the 50 Luna that they gave the LFG, the Lunar Lunar Foundation Guard, that they gave them to get them up and running. So this is going to burn quite a lot of Luna into UST, so that's good for us stakers. We should start getting a bit of extra Luna in our wallets over the next few weeks as this gets minted, and this is going to prop up the the yield reserves of Anchor. So that's very important, and that's quite significant. So because it was running out quite rapidly. So that was one bit of news with Anchor. The next was, just waiting for this to load. So this just dropped overnight, and it seems to be quite significant. They've got a partnership with Benqi, which I believe is a liquid staking provider, similar to potentially like Lido, if you're familiar with them. And these guys are going to be allowing us to have the Avalanche token as collateral within Anchor. So that's quite significant sAVAX support on Anchor. So there is a Twitter space here that's probably worth listening to. I haven't had a chance to listen to it fully myself yet, and it's only just dropped overnight. So that's quite significant. There had been rumors that this was coming. So basically, Anchor's starting to go multi-chain. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be native on AVAX and people can just use that token natively on AVAX. Hopefully that's the case, because that makes the barrier to entry into Anchor a lot more seamless and easy for people on other chains. So over time, we should see Anchor expand out to other chains, and the total value locked of Anchor is going to increase, and that really helps with its yield reserves. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention was they have increased the loan to value ratio up to 80%. I mentioned this on a previous episode. It's gone through now, so that's taken a lot of pressure off people facing liquidations. So that's significant as well. So we've had quite a lot of significant news drop in the last few days for Anchor, so that should hold it in good stead for the next little while as they continue to expand into other chains. Okay, so next up, I wanted to mention a new protocol that Might not be that familiar for a lot of people. It's called Kinetic Money. And I listened to this AMA with Orbital Command. These guys are great, by the way. Consider validating to them or delegating to them, to their validator. So Kinetic Money is very similar to the Alchemix protocol on Ethereum, where you can deposit some yield-bearing collateral, and the yield uses the yield to pay down a loan. So you're basically getting your yield up front. And, that's a pretty amazing thing that is only in DeFi. It's a self-repaying loan. So the only cost to you is time, essentially. So if you have a look at their website, they've got a slider on there where it shows you how much potentially you can borrow and how long it would take to pay off. It's completely dynamic, so that's going to change based on the yield. So that's a very interesting primitive that could be built upon. I mean, you can imagine over time, if you've got like a lot of Luna or another yield-bearing asset, maybe even sAVAX now might pop up on here, and you're very long, you want to hold that long term, say 5 years or more, but you really need some money for, some immediate need in life. Rather than selling your token and having the tax event around all of that, you could just deposit into Kinetic and borrow against it. And over, the next few years, because it does take a while, it's slowly going to pay itself down and unlock your collateral that you locked up to begin with. So they also announced quite a hefty airdrop late last year. The snapshot was a while back. I think it was at the end of October, but they're going to be airdropping 35% of their token to Luna stakers, Ankh stakers, and Alchemix holders and stakers and LPs from the original Alchemix protocol on Ethereum. So really interesting protocol. It's quite fascinating that we've got these new primitives coming out, and well worth a listen on Terra Spaces here to the Kinetic Money AMA with Orbital Command. Okay, so finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was this UST invasion continuing. So what am I talking about here? Really, if we have a look at the forums for governance proposals, that's agora.terra.money, you'll see that there's quite a few governance proposals that have passed and have either been implemented or in the process of being implemented to provide liquidity and incentives around that liquidity to other chains and other protocols and other offerings. So the most recent one that's gone through was UST to ZK Sync and Starknet. I can't remember which Twitter feed it was on. One of these mentioned that they've started to incentivize a bunch of pools of things like YFI now as a pairing with UST, for instance, and they're already starting to generate liquidity. And this is just in the first 10 or 12 hours of it being in existence. So that's a really positive way to get UST into new offerings. ZK Sync, they're one of the big layer 2 providers to Ethereum, and some of the main offerings that run on layer 2s are already using that technology. So DYDX, for instance, I'm pretty sure Immutable X is running off the same tech. So there's going to be a whole ecosystem growing based on ZK Sync tech, and Zigzag Exchange is part of that. So just have a quick look at their interface, just bring it up here. So it's a decentralized exchange that runs on a layer 2 to Ethereum that's fast and cheap to use, and it's great to see UST over there. So there's a few other similar proposals that have gone through in the past. Just thought I'd bring them up, go through them all. So Pangolin Exchange, they've actually made UST their default stablecoin on Avalanche. So I think these guys are the second or third largest exchange on Avalanche. They're one of the original ones, been around for some time. So that's really cool for them, not just to adopt our token, but they've actually said, we're going to make this our default UST or US dollar pairing. So that's really significant. We've also got some incentives on Trader Joe on Avalanche, which is the main exchange, Spooky Swap and Spirit Swap on Phantom, and then Moonbeam on Polkadot. So, and also the Axelar Bridge, which I think is another bridge offering as well. So all of those are going through. I don't know at what stage they actually are in terms of has the liquidity moved over there, but you can see there's 1.4 million in Luna. So they're pretty significant. It's a great way to use some of the community pool funds to try and spread the reach of UST, because that's super important. Basically, the more UST that gets adopted elsewhere, the better it is for Luna. Here's another similar one. So someone was going, is there a UST style stablecoin for Solana? And basically the answer is UST is the UST on Solana. So they've gone with a bunch of protocols here and added liquidity and some incentives, Lunar incentives. So Solend, Orca, Saber, Atrix, Yuzu, Rose, and Trisolaris. So this is just another way that Luna can basically profit off of other networks. And the whole point of Luna is, our product is UST. It's the best decentralized stablecoin around, and it protects people within DeFi from having something go wrong with one of the other stablecoins where they could be censored or blacklisted. If you use USDT, I should say, or USDC, and one of the powers that be decided that you had done something wrong, or the actual coins that you held had at some point been used for something nefarious, you could get blacklisted and your funds could get frozen and you've got no right of recourse. So that's the whole idea with UST. It's to be a decentralized stablecoin, and to be honest, you can't have decentralized finance with centralized stablecoins. That's why I'm so bullish on this ecosystem and UST in general. Here's the tweet on Zigzag Exchange. So yeah, they've got YFI, UST, RV, UST, USDC, and ETH and wrapped Bitcoin pairs. So that's some pretty juicy assets to be paired with UST, and evidently they're getting quite a lot of volume already. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for today. I hope that's been useful. Thanks very much for watching.